In the vast galaxy of world literature, Anna Karenina has been hailed by many literary critics as one of the most perfect novels ever written. First published between 1875 and 1877, Tolstoy was at the height of his intellectual maturity when he wrote this masterpiece. He possessed profound insights into human nature, love, morality, and the social system. With exquisite detail, he portrayed the life of Russia's 19th-century high society, exposing the hypocrisy, coldness, and moral constraints of the aristocracy, while also depicting the helplessness and struggles of ordinary people in the face of love, family, faith, and fate. At the very beginning of the novel, Tolstoy sets the tone with a highly philosophical line: "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This single sentence reveals countless joys and sorrows of life, drawing readers into a world full of emotions and conflicts. Today, we will revisit the storyline and destinies of the characters in this timeless work. Following Tolstoy's pen, we will travel from splendid balls in formal attire to desolate, freezing railway tracks, from the warmth and sweetness of country estates to the heart-wrenching collapse of emotions. Let us quiet our minds and listen to this love story and tragedy that transcends centuries. To better understand the story, let us first meet the main characters, Anna Karenina. The heroine, beautiful, intelligent, and charming. She is trapped in a marriage that appears stable but lacks passion. In pursuit of true love, she ultimately meets a tragic end. Alexei Karenina, Anna's husband, a high-ranking government official, calm, rational, and focused on social reputation and moral appearances. He has feelings for Anna, but his love is more about duty and propriety. Alexei Vronsky, a young and handsome officer, passionate and impulsive. His love affair with Anna flares up rapidly but is gradually worn down by reality and pressure. Konstantin Levin, a Tolstoyan idealist, a landowner, thoughtful, and constantly exploring the meaning of life. His love story with Kitty forms the novel's other main plotline. Kitty Sherbatskaya, gentle, innocent, and kind. She initially harbors feelings for Vronsky, suffers a setback, grows through the experience, and eventually marries Levin, Stepan Oblonsky, Anna's brother, cheerful yet womanizing, symbolizing the hedonism of high society. The novel opens with a domestic crisis. On a cold winter morning in Moscow, Stepan Oblonsky's household is in turmoil. His wife, Darya Alexandrovna, known as Dolly, has discovered his affair and in anger prepares to separate from him. The servants are tense, the children are kept in another room, and the air is filled with unease. Stepan, Anna's brother, is witty and good-humored but lacks loyalty in marriage. This is not his first infidelity, but this time Dolly is completely disheartened. Here, Tolstoy writes the world-famous opening line, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This statement not only reflects Dolly's household, but also foreshadows the different forms of unhappiness that will unfold in the destinies of every character to come. Amid the gloom of Dolly's marital crisis, Anna Karenina's arrival brings a brief moment of light. She travels from St. Petersburg specifically to persuade her sister-in-law to forgive Stepan. Anna has a natural warmth. Her conversation is elegant, her gaze sincere, and her every movement exudes a noble yet unassuming grace. Dolly's heart, initially cold and lifeless, gradually softens under Anna's patient persuasion and emotional resonance. Anna not only soothes her sister-in-law's emotions, but also temporarily restores peace to the household. However, the wheels of fate begin to turn quietly at this moment. At a ball in Moscow, Anna meets the young officer Alexei Vronsky. Meanwhile, another thread of romance was quietly unfolding. Kitty Sherbatskaya, Dolly's younger sister, was young and innocent, secretly in love with the handsome and charming officer Alexei Vronsky. She had always believed that Vronsky would propose to her, and so she politely declined the sincere courtship of the landowner Konstantin Levin. Levin was a man out of place in the urban aristocratic circle. He loved the countryside, cared deeply about the lives of the peasants, and held an idealistic and romantic view of love. When Kitty rejected him, she hesitated for a moment, but in her heart she was certain. She and Vronsky were the perfect match. However, fate took a sharp turn at a grand ball. Anna and Vronsky met for the first time in the ballroom. Anna wore a black velvet gown draped with lace at the shoulders, her eyes shimmering with both intelligence and mystery. The moment Vronsky saw her, it was as if all the noise of the ballroom had vanished. He stepped forward to invite her to dance, and the silent exchange of their eyes quickly deepened in warmth and intensity. Under the glow of the ballroom lights, Kitty watched the scene, her heart growing cold. She finally realized that Vronsky's passion no longer belonged to her. By the end of the evening, her smile had completely faded, leaving only loss and humiliation. Vronsky was deeply captivated by Anna, and he began to appear frequently within her line of sight. On the streets, at gatherings, and at various social occasions, his tall, poised figure and ardent gaze always seemed to be there. At first, Anna was keenly aware that their relationship could not cross certain boundaries. She was Karenin's wife, with a son, responsibilities, and the weight of society's scrutiny. Yet, once the seed of love had been planted, it began to take root quietly in her subconscious. Through subtle psychological portrayals, Tolstoy allows the reader to sense the fine cracks forming between Anna's reason and her emotions. Meanwhile, after Kitty's rejection, Levin returned to the countryside with a heavy heart. He devoted himself to agricultural reforms and the management of his land, trying to fill the void of lost love with labor and ideals. This rural storyline stands in stark contrast to Anna's urban romance, one grounded in practicality and the pursuit of inner peace, the other wavering between passion and moral duty. After the ball, Anna intended to return to St. Petersburg at once, hoping to restore her calm and controllable life. She knew she was already treading on dangerous emotional ground, and avoidance seemed the only choice she could make. Vronsky, however, decided to risk everything. He abruptly changed his plans and boarded the same train bound for St. Petersburg. Moving through the cold night between the carriages, his meeting with Anna was no longer shielded by the noise of the ball, making it all the more real and intense. The train sped through snow and ice, the scenery outside the windows racing backward, while inside the carriage lingered a thick, suspended air of ambiguity. Vronsky confessed his feelings to Anna. His words were subtle, yet carried an unmistakable persistence. He had no intention of hiding, and even less of giving up. Anna tried hard to suppress her emotions, reminding herself this was impossible, but her tone and gaze had already begun to waver. Tolstoy, through delicate details, the movement of a glove, the pause of a glance, the rhythm of a breath, lets us feel the emotional undercurrent slipping further out of control. After returning to St. Petersburg, Anna tried to resume her role as wife and mother. She tenderly embraced her son Seryozha, tended to household matters, and participated in social engagements, as if nothing had happened. Vronsky, however, did not retreat. He continued to appear in Anna's orbit, drawing closer through various occasions. Whether in the corridors outside a ballroom or at a friend's afternoon tea, there was always an unplanned exchange between them. The social circles of St. Petersburg high society were vast yet tightly knit, a great machine for gossip. People began to notice the frequency and warmth of their interactions. Outwardly, they still maintained proper decorum, but in private, whispers about Anna and Vronsky were already spreading. Karenin was not a clueless husband. As a shrewd figure in politics, he was far more attuned to public opinion than most. He began observing his wife's conduct with a calm, almost cold, detachment. For him, the priority was not emotion, but propriety. The wife of a high-ranking official must not be tainted by scandal. One day, during a grand horse racing event, Vronsky's mount fell mid-race. From the stands, Anna lost control of her emotions, displaying an unrestrained concern for Vronsky before the eyes of the entire crowd. In a society that prized composure and decorum, such a public display of feeling was almost tantamount to admitting that their relationship was far from ordinary. The accident at the races became the final straw that broke the restraints of reason. In a private meeting soon afterward, Anna at last confessed her feelings. Tolstoy did not depict this moment as a passionate declaration, but rather had Anna speak with a tone that was both pained and resolute. She loved Vronsky, and she could not stop loving him. From this moment on, Anna and Vronsky entered into a true lover's relationship. They met in secret, both in St. Petersburg and in the countryside, immersed in the fervor of their passion. What Tolstoy portrayed here was not a sweet, romanticized love, but a happiness laced with original sin. Every meeting carried a risk, and every parting left an unspoken ache. Anna began to feel her inner conflict grow ever more intense. She longed for this love, yet she was racked with guilt for betraying her family and her son. Her world began to split in two. One half was the passion and freedom she shared with Vronsky. The other was the responsibility and social identity tied to Karenin and her beloved Seryoza. As time passed, Anna and Vronsky's relationship could no longer be concealed. Though they still maintained a veneer of decorum in public, subtle signs betrayed them. Anna's glances, tone, and her involuntary attention at gatherings, Vronsky's constant efforts to be near her whenever possible. In the upper echelons of St. Petersburg society, the rumors had become an open secret. Behind smiles and polite greetings lay whispered conversations and curious stares. Anna's female friends began to distance themselves, not out of moral superiority, but from fear of being dragged into scandal. Karenin's patience wore thin. He had once hoped his wife would restrain herself and salvage their family's outward respectability, but Anna clearly no longer hid anything. One day, during a direct confrontation, he coldly told Anna that he demanded she cease this threat to the family's honor, or he would take action. Anna's reply was blunt. She admitted she loved Vronsky, and that this love was irreversible. She even declared that if forced to choose, she would choose love over marriage. Behind Anna's courage lay an unavoidable cost. Karenin refused to grant a divorce as it would cause political troubles and ruin his reputation among his peers. Instead, he imposed a cold condition. As long as Anna kept their affair out of the public eye, he would tolerate her private life. But their son, Seryoza, must remain with him. This plunged Anna into profound anguish. She could endure losing her husband, but not losing her child. Torn between her role as lover and as mother, every choice felt like a knife cutting into her heart. During this stage, Tolstoy's portrayal of Anna revealed emotional turmoil. She was passionate and vibrant when with Vronsky, yet when alone, she sank into anxiety and self-reproach. She felt herself drifting away from society and from the self she once knew. Meanwhile, another emotional thread was quietly turning. Levin, after enduring loneliness and hard work in the countryside, remained committed to reforming agriculture and land management, hoping to find a way for humans and nature to coexist harmoniously. Kitty, after rejecting Levin, suffered the blow of Vronsky's shifting affections. Both her body and mind faltered, and she was eventually sent by her family to a sanatorium in Europe to recuperate. There, she encountered people from different social classes and began to reevaluate her views on love and marriage. In this section, Tolstoy arranged for Kitty to form a relationship with a young woman seriously ill with a terminal disease. This experience made Kitty deeply aware of the fragility of life and the sincerity of human nature. Slowly, she came to realize that it was Levin's genuine heart and steadfastness that she truly needed. Sometimes we think we are pursuing freedom, but in reality, we are running toward another prison. The two storylines set in Petersburg and the countryside create a sharp emotional contrast. Anna and Vronsky become gradually trapped by societal judgment amid their passionate affair, while Levin and Kitty, through reflection and personal growth, slowly approach the chance of reunion. Toward the end of this part, Tolstoy intensifies Anna's inner monologue as she begins to question whether love truly brings freedom or if it merely replaces one form of bondage with another. So the relationship between Anna and Karenin finally reached an irreparable point. After a fierce quarrel, Karenin explicitly stated that he would take legal measures to retain custody of their son, Seryoza, and prevent Anna from appearing in society as Mrs. Karenin. Karenin's attitude was cold and his words sharp. He regarded marriage as a contract rather than an emotional union. To him, Anna's betrayal was not only a matter of personal feelings, but also a serious threat to his reputation. In anger, Anna left home and openly lived with Vronsky. Her actions caused a huge scandal in Petersburg's high society. She was unwelcome in nearly all social venues, and friends gradually distanced themselves from her one by one. Vronsky was once the most admired young officer in Petersburg's social circles, his handsome looks and bravery winning countless admirers. However, Anna's scandal also cast a shadow over him. His military career began to face obstacles, with certain promotion opportunities being deliberately or inadvertently blocked. He did not regret choosing Anna, but under the mounting pressure, signs of anxiety and irritability began to show. Sometimes he would complain about their isolated situation. At other times, he felt powerless in the face of Anna's emotional fluctuations. Love, battered by harsh realities, started to show subtle cracks. Anna grew increasingly sensitive and fearful of losing Vronsky's affection, becoming more dependent on him, a dependence that, in turn, made Vronsky feel constrained. Another emotional storyline quietly reached a warm turning point. Levin returned to Moscow to visit his family and unexpectedly encountered Kitty at a social gathering. In that moment, their eyes were filled with memories of the past and unspoken apologies. Levin remained awkward, unsure how to start a conversation, while Kitty's gaze carried a new maturity and tenderness. Soon, they found an opportunity to reconnect. At a family gathering, they sat together and played a word-guessing game with paper and pen, using the chance to write down their true feelings. An unspoken reconciliation and renewed closeness. Some love burns itself out and consumes everything. Some love grows slowly, but remains evergreen. In this section, Tolstoy creates a striking contrast between the two emotional storylines. Anna and Vronsky move toward social isolation and emotional peril amid their passion. Levin and Kitty, on the other hand, journey from missed opportunities through reflection to a gentle reunion. In Anna's world, love is like a war against the whole world, costly and full of uncertainty, while for Levin and Kitty, love resembles a slowly awakening land, requiring patience, cultivation, and tolerance. After the complete rupture with Karenin, Anna's life entered a turbulent period. Isolated and helpless under the assault of public opinion alongside Vronsky, coupled with long-standing anxiety and mental strain, her physical condition rapidly deteriorated. Following childbirth, her illness became critical, and her life hung by a thread. In a coma, Anna drifted on the edge of consciousness, recalling her marriage, love, and family, her heart filled with both pain and fleeting moments of peace. This episode is one of the most emotionally intense parts of Tolstoy's narrative. Passion, betrayal, and illness intertwine, revealing the character's psychological state as fragile yet sincere. Unexpectedly, as Anna lay gravely ill, Karenin came to her bedside. Seeing his dying wife and their newborn child, a surge of unprecedented compassion and forgiveness arose within him. In that moment, Karenin seemed to let go of his past anger and pride, even forgiving Anna and Vronsky. He told Anna that he was willing to accept her and the child, even if it meant starting over. This forgiveness did not stem from love, but from a near-religious moral awakening. He felt that resentment was meaningless, and life became insignificant in the face of death. Witnessing Karenin's change of attitude at Anna's bedside, Vronsky was overwhelmed by complex emotions, shame, gratitude, and even a sense of defeated frustration. He had believed himself to be Anna's sole pillar of support, but Karenin's unexpected mercy at such a critical moment made him realize he was not irreplaceable in this relationship. Tolstoy deeply portrays Vronsky's inner turmoil here. His love for Anna remains, yet the confidence and conqueror's pride of the young officer are shattered by reality. He begins to understand that love is not only about possession, but also about endurance and sacrifice. Death once drew us close, but life will inevitably push us back to our original distance. A moment of calm arose between Anna, Karenina, and Vronsky at Anna's sickbed. Anna expressed gratitude for Karenin's forgiveness, yet she knew deep down that this peace would not last. As her health gradually improved, the conflicts of reality would return. Karenin still could not truly accept a wife with a lover, and Vronsky could not endure living under society's long-lasting hostility. This moment felt like the calm before the storm, laying the groundwork for the emotional crises to come. After her recovery, Anna faced an unavoidable reality. She could no longer return to her former social circles, nor maintain a superficial marriage with Karenin. To escape public scrutiny and to improve Anna's spirits, Vronsky decided to take her away from Petersburg, traveling to the countryside and abroad. Anna was filled with hope, believing that by distancing themselves from the gossip they could regain the passion and purity they once shared when they first met. However, leaving the familiar environment also meant losing daily contact with her son Seryoza, an unbearable pain for Anna, as her maternal love and romantic love constantly tugged at her heart. In the early days of their arrival in the countryside, Anna and Vronsky's relationship was relatively warm. They rode horses, went hunting, and attended rural dances. Anna felt a long-lost sense of freedom and relaxation. Vronsky also found a brief respite here, free from the constant exclusion in the military and the gossip of the city. However, the tranquility of this life was gradually eroded by subtle emotions. Anna began to worry about being forgotten during her time away from society. Meanwhile, Vronsky found the rural life too monotonous, and his inner ambition and social needs quietly stirred. As time passed, Anna's emotions grew increasingly sensitive and uneasy. She feared that Vronsky might meet new women during his social engagements and worried that he might lose patience with their relationship. Consequently, she began frequently questioning Vronsky about his whereabouts, sometimes even displaying possessiveness and distrust at parties. Vronsky grew tired of these suspicions. Although he still loved Anna, he no longer devoted himself to her as wholeheartedly as before. He felt trapped in an emotional prison, struggling to breathe. Love is not about possessing another person, but about two hearts drawing closer freely. Meanwhile, Levin and Kitty's married life quietly unfolded. They managed a farm in the countryside. Although occasional disagreements arose, their shared approach to life steadily strengthened their bond. Through this contrast, Tolstoy highlights Anna and Vronsky's predicament. Once love loses trust and a shared purpose, it becomes like a ship without an anchor, always at risk of capsizing in the storm. As the days in the countryside wore on, Anna gradually found herself cut off from the outside world. Her letters often went unanswered. Old friends from her social circle had almost all distanced themselves, and her son, Seryoza, influenced by Karenin, was growing increasingly distant from her life. This sense of isolation caused her anxiety to swell. She longed to be loved and needed, yet feared that relying too much would burden Vronsky. However, the more she restrained herself, the deeper her inner doubts grew. On the surface, Vronsky still accompanied Anna, but inwardly he was increasingly burdened by the troubles of reality. He longed to return to a broader social and professional stage. He aspired to gain higher military rank, yet his relationship with Anna had become an invisible obstacle. He devoted energy to matters in the countryside, attempting to build a sense of accomplishment. This divided focus made Anna feel that she was no longer the center of his life. She began to doubt whether Vronsky was gradually drifting away from her emotionally. A discussion about returning to the city became the trigger for conflict between them. Anna wanted to return immediately to the city, determined to face the gossip and re-enter social life. Vronsky insisted on waiting until conditions were right, fearing that a hasty return would only bring greater trouble. The quarrel was not resolved immediately, but caused a rift in their relationship. Anna felt neglected, while Vronsky felt misunderstood. During the ensuing Cold War, Vronsky deliberately reduced communication, and Anna's emotional fluctuations grew worse, even leading to insomnia and mental confusion. The deepest loneliness is not being alone, but watching those close to you slowly drift away. In sharp contrast to Anna's tense situation, Levin and Kitty, despite occasional disagreements, learned to listen and compromise during a debate about farm work. Through this, Tolstoy conveys that love is not without conflict, but whether the relationship can be repaired and a common goal found after the conflict. In the countryside, Anna felt completely forgotten, and her isolation deepened into profound despair. She fantasized nearly every day about returning to the city to regain attention. She desperately wanted to see her son Seryoza, but Karenin's refusals repeatedly frustrated her. Her love for Vronsky had turned into extreme possessiveness, interpreting any coldness or delay as a sign of betrayal. These emotions pushed Anna's mental state to the brink of collapse. She began to lose rational judgment and would sometimes fall into long periods of stupor when alone. Once, Anna and Vronsky erupted in a fierce argument over plans to return to the city. Anna insisted on returning to Petersburg immediately, believing that only there could she regain her sense of self-worth. Vronsky thought the situation was unfavorable and that they should continue to wait. During the quarrel, Vronsky's words, "If you keep pushing me like this, it only makes me want to leave even more," pierced Anna's heart deeply. She felt their love beginning to fade and found herself powerless to save it. After the quarrel, Vronsky left home to handle some matters, leaving Anna alone in the room, with her thoughts spiraling downward. She began to reflect on her life, from her marriage to Karenin to her encounter with Vronsky, from passion to isolation, from hope to despair. She realized that no matter whom she chose, complete happiness was beyond her reach. Love brought not only warmth but also unbearable chains. Caught in these thoughts, Anna's mind gradually slipped toward an extreme notion to completely free herself from all pain. Anna went alone to the train station. She looked at the tracks, recalling the moment she first met Vronsky. She heard the roaring of the approaching train, feeling a strange calm and inevitability. Tolstoy uses highly symbolic imagery here. The train represents not only speed and power, but also the cold, merciless nature of the industrial age. At the moment the train neared, Anna made her final act, leaping to her death and ending her life. She believed that by jumping, she could end it all, unaware that the pain would continue in the hearts of those who loved her. After receiving the news, Vronsky sank into a near-numb grief. He volunteered for a dangerous military mission, as if trying to atone with his life or escape the emptiness left by losing Anna. His departure brought no salvation, only endless regret and shadows. Anna's tragedy plunged Levin into deep reflection. He returned to his rural estate, striving to find meaning through work and life. Levin's philosophical inquiries run throughout this section. What is the true value of life? Does happiness truly exist? Or is it merely a fleeting illusion? How can faith and love become the pillars of life? Through Levin's voice, Tolstoy expresses his own understanding of life, religion, and morality. While working in the fields, Levin feels the power of harmony with nature, begins to accept life's imperfections, and learns to find peace in the ordinary. Kitty's return and her support gave Levin an end to his loneliness. They married and formed a new family. Although their marriage was not without problems, they faced life's challenges together through understanding and tolerance. In contrast to Anna's tragedy, this presents another possibility. The union of love and responsibility can become a solid foundation for life. In the novel's conclusion, Tolstoy has Levin reflect on life. The meaning of life is not found in the pursuit of passion and fame, but in embracing responsibility, steadfastness in love and faith, and a deep appreciation and cherishing of ordinary life. This viewpoint runs throughout the entire work, reflecting Tolstoy's critique of 19th-century Russian society and his profound concern for the human soul. Life is not about chasing storms, but about learning to find your own peace within them. Anna Karenina is not only a novel about love and marriage, but also a profound exploration of human nature, society, and faith. Through the tragedy of Anna, Tolstoy warns us of the conflict between personal emotional freedom and social norms, the power and cost of love, and the fragility and strength of human beings in the face of fate. At the same time, Levin's story offers us hope that sincerity and perseverance in the ordinary may be the true, ultimate destination of life.